Okay, so this is an experiment, and we have 5 of us being recorded via Zoom online. Everybody's in isolation on their own or with their families. Some of them wish they were on their own if they're with their families, like myself. And we have M from M Stems in Scotland. We have James from Petals Florist in Conwy, Wales. And we also have James from Irish Green Guys all the way in Ireland. And we have Victoria in Leighton Buzzard.
with a beer, all the way from Elbizzle.
And myself in Buckingham. So we're just going to start with you, Em. And can you give us just a very brief introduction to yourself and your business, please?
Yeah, so I'm Emma. I have Stems, which is in the Scottish borders. Started this 8 years ago now, and have gone and done the sort of whole circle, working from home, then ended up having a retail shop, and then decided I wasn't loving retail so much, so closed that side down just to focus on weddings, events and workshops. So kind of did the full circle, and now finally got to a point that I was loving. And then coronavirus came and changed all of that. So yeah, but no, I enjoy what I do.
The virus has really kind of thrown everybody. I feel like this year was going to be this positive year for so many of us, and it's just been like boom, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So, James Petals, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, hi. So I'm James, and I run a shop called Petals in a town called Llandudno on the top coast of North Wales. I've been doing it for about 8 years now. I'm one of the very fortunate few who managed to take over from my parents. I'm third generation. Yeah, love it. I'm mostly retail and funeral based, and I do some weddings too.
Gosh, that really does like run in your blood then, doesn't it? The floristry. Was there ever a time where you didn't think you were going to go into it?
Pretty much until the day I started in the shop, I didn't think that it was ever going to be for me. Yeah, no, I had a job as a computer engineer, and I left that job, and my mum and dad, who were running the shop at the time, asked me to come in and help them with a few things, like kind of spruce up the website, help them with taking pictures and simple stuff, social media, that kind of stuff. And yeah, 8 years later, I'm still there.
Amazing. Well, you must love it. But it is nice that you stayed with it. I'm sure your parents are really happy and really proud that you can continue the business that they built. So amazing. James, Irish Green Guys, let's have a little bit of a background on you, if we could.
Yeah. So we're growing foliage over here in the southwest of Ireland for about 25 years. So my dad started off the business. I joined straight out of college. Been working in it for 20 years. So the business was, I suppose, set up to deal with supermarkets, and we were growing big volumes for the supermarket trade. But about 5 or 6 years ago, I started exploring the wholesale markets, because we were growing all these kind of new and exciting varieties, and we weren't kind of getting the love, I suppose, if you like, from the supermarket trade, that they were actively looking for these things. So we started doing a bit in the wholesale market. And then about 2.5 years ago, we launched Irish Green Guys to kind of grow premium and exclusive and unique foliage varieties aimed at the florist market, really, I suppose, with the aim of trying to help florists differentiate what they're doing compared to the standard supermarket offering. So we grow kind of a full range. We have a little microclimate down here. We're on the southwest coast. We don't get really any cold weather, so we can grow a lot of things that can't be grown anywhere else. And I suppose growers love to try new things and grow new things. So it's been a great adventure over the last couple of years, and I've really loved it.
Amazing. Recently you started delivering over here as well, over to England. I'm yet to order from you, but I can't wait. And my first order would have been put in if coronavirus hadn't have hit. Because what's so nice about your product is you pre-make garlands. And now I don't know about you, Emma. I don't know about you, Jess. I mean, I think Jess quite likes a garland, but I find them a complete pain in the arse to make. And you do some really nice ranges of like different styles, different types. So yeah, I think that's going to be a great thing.
How much land have you got down there? What's your acreage that you grow on?
So we probably have about 250 acres of foliage. Yeah, and it's a crop. It takes 3 to 4 years for most of them to get established. So you're kind of plan ahead and saying, what are people going to like, or what are the trends going to be in 3 or 4 years time, which I've probably given up growing, and now so now I just grow things that I like to grow. So I hope people buy them.
Yeah, I love that. So Emma, can you tell us how you all know each other from all these corners of the UK and Ireland?
I guess through the industry, just through, I think probably back in the sort of early Florist Smart days. I think James, am I right? James Compton, is that? No, would it been? Yeah, I want to say Florist Smart days when they were kind of becoming quite a thing in the UK. And then I got to know James Compton, and then was fangirling James Costello on Instagram, and then got to meet him at Vision a few years back, and then have just stayed in touch ever since. I'd say like James Compton is probably one of my best florist pals, although he's way down in Wales. We chat all the time, just comparing notes and whatnot. And then James Costello's a technology dinosaur, so sometimes give him a hand when he gets stuck with things on the computer.
That's brilliant. And James Compton, do you find how important do you find it to have a connection with other florists and growers in the industry, that kind of sense of community?
It's changed my professional life. To put it bluntly, I feel like I didn't know anything before I started connecting with other florists. The impact it's had on my knowledge base, on my levels of inspiration, the inspiration I take from people like Emma for the work that I do day to day is huge. So I think I'd be a lot further back from where I am now if I didn't know people and was friends with people across the industry.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that I started with a retail business, and you think you've got somewhere, and then I started freelancing for other people, and you go, oh, okay, and you learn all these other things, and you speak to more people. And I think it's really important, especially at the moment.
Yeah.
And James Costello, what impact do you have? What impact do you think it has on you for community in regards of knowing florists? Does that help you understand what with your wholesale business, what your clients want, what you should be growing? I know you said you only grow things that you like, but
Yeah, 100%. I mean, ultimately, as a primary producer, you're dictated by the market. So I suppose the great thing now with social media is you can ask questions, you can get feedback. What would make your life easier? What do you like? What's the gap in the market? What would you like to have in your shop that you don't currently have? And I think, what coronavirus has probably done is it's given a whole load of challenges, but there's going to be opportunities at the far side. I mean, I think the likes of Emma there, who might do a wedding a weekend, will now probably have to do 3 or 4 weddings a weekend. So suddenly she'll be challenging me and say, can you make this, or make bouquets, or pre-made garlands a bit heavier? What can you do for me to set up faster? Because I'm going to have to, a lot of wedding season is going to be crammed into a few months. So by communicating with the market, which in my case is florists, you get instant feedback. And what I've learned about florists is they're very keen to tell you. They're very open in terms of what they're looking for, and it's great.
No, that's really great. And Emma, I mean, you must, like James said, your 2021, or certainly the tail end of 2020, must be looking mental. In terms of having to move things over, kind of doubling up on the work. Can you talk to us a little bit about how the impact of coronavirus has hit you in that respect?
So it hit. Well, I don't even know what day we're on. So the week prior to lockdown, which was on a Monday, I got flowers in for a wedding that weekend prior to the lockdown. And I got them in on the Tuesday because there was some garden roses and things. So I wanted them nice and full and open. And I was just conditioning away. As far as I knew, it was still going ahead. And it was actually another one of the suppliers phoned me and it's like, Emma, I saw your Instagram. Do you not know yet? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, it's off. It's been cancelled. So I was sort of buzzing away, just taking my little sort of sneak peeks that I do for my brides. And unfortunately, the phones in our area had been down that day. So they've been trying to phone me, but not been able to get through. And I was oblivious that there was voicemails left because it hadn't rang. So then it all just kind of stopped, like just completely stopped me in my tracks. And I was so excited for that wedding. The bride I've become good friends with, and it was a really nice combination. And just when you've got one and you're like, it's gonna look awesome, and you're just excited for it. So it's one of those, and that was a bit shit, to be honest. And then so I spoke with them, and we worked out what to do with the flowers and whatnot, and that was fine. And then within 6 days, I lost, in those 6 days, £35,000 worth of bookings were postponed. Some haven't given me new dates yet, and then others are trying to look at dates, but then we're already booked. So it's going to be hard. One of the biggest ones that we had coming up in May, biggest event I'll probably ever do, has now moved into December. So now I had done this huge quote and planned everything with I was hoping beach and birch, but James told me I wasn't going to get it in May, but I was aiming to get it in May. I was going to make it happen. So I was thinking just light and whimsical, and foxgloves and lupins, maybe too early for foxgloves, but I had this idea, and now we're going winter wonderland. So the whole thing's scrapped, and now it's like, right, forget that vision. We now need to do, it'll be like mixed, all James's mixed uke and garlands, and just totally different. So yeah, it's the end of the year is looking busy, but actually I've got August brides now postponing because they're worried that if we stay in lockdown for, say, as long as Italy, and then the older people or people who are pregnant and stuff are still in 12 weeks of isolation, that's going to carry on. So then they're moving. So yeah, it's gone from being the year that would allow for us to get a mortgage next year, because I'd have that final year of accounts that I needed, to now being just a big question mark. But it's all right. Like, it is what it is. We're all in the same boat. So,
and that's the thing, yeah, we are all in the same boat, but it is very much like yourself. For me, this year was going to be like the first year. Sorry about that. Should put that on there. Yeah. Anyway, this for me, this was going to be a really special year. I had some absolutely mad stuff coming up. It was a busy year, and I was like super excited. I've always loved every single year, but this year I thought, this is the one. This is the one that could potentially get me more known, get me bigger weddings, so on and so forth. And yeah, I was pretty gutted. I mean, it is a shame, but like you say, we're all in the same boat, aren't we? And it's not like, this person's business is going down the pan because whatever. We're all just there, and everyone, I think luckily we've got, I think the government supports, trying to support us as much as possible. There's going to be delays and stuff, but yeah, it is a shame. Oh, everyone's jiggled round and Emma's gone. Are you there?
We'll wait and see if she comes back. Sometimes it might be. She did say her internet's a bit funny because everyone's on Netflix.
Okay.
I'm going to ask
James Compton. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to ask James Compton. I was going to ask you about how it is from the retail side, because obviously your shop must have just closed overnight. Everything stopped. But,
yeah, I mean,
have you got? I know it's a bit morbid, but are there still funerals and things happening? Are you still carrying on, or is it just all complete shutdown?
So until last Friday, yes, there were funerals carrying on that we'd taken bookings for the couple of weeks beforehand, and I had no intention of letting anyone down for those. But no, as of this week, we've completely stopped. It's a small town, and there's not enough of a demand for me to keep going. We don't have any local wholesalers that I can just go to. The nearest local wholesaler is an hour and a half drive away. So I don't just have somewhere I can go to pick up a few stems to fulfill a funeral from. When you have to order from one of the internet companies, you've got to spend £150, £200. And in order to justify that, you have to be taking the volume, and it's just not there for us at the moment. So we're completely shut down. Okay,
and how does that affect, like, do you own your building, or have you got rents and landlords and rates? I don't know what the government are doing about things like that.
So again, I'm in a really, really lucky position where I've got a lovely relationship with my landlady, who has given me a couple of months break with my rent, which is a huge help. But you know, we've got the short term issues that I think, well, certainly myself and most other florists in the country are going to be facing. Is the big one is cash flow. You know, how long can we keep paying our major overheads with no money coming in, which is the kind of the big one. You know, and are we going to get help from the government? I think most people are. Hopefully I am, in which case that'll tide me over for a few months. But I know certainly most florists aren't sitting on 4 and 5 figure cash reserves that they can just keep pumping in and keeping things going with. So those are the major short-term issues that we're dealing with at the moment. But then you've got long-term issues as well. But certainly, you know, we're dealing with what we know at the moment, which is the short-term, which is the cash flow, and which is getting ourselves some help from the government.
Have you had to furlough any staff? Do you have like any full-time staff you have?
Yep. So I've furloughed two staff and myself as well. We're a limited company and I'm director, so I've been able to furlough myself, which is a small benefit. I know a lot of self-employed sole traders don't have that kind of fortune. So no, I've furloughed two staff and myself.
Amazing. Well, I mean, I know it's not amazing, but it is something. I know I have heard of other flower shops who, before they all of the furloughing stuff came in, had to let their staff go, full-time staff and things like that, because obviously they just couldn't afford to pay them. And then obviously those people had gone on to try and find work elsewhere in different industries, and because they've done that, they're not. Jess, give me the word, please. Entitled to be furloughed once they've gone into other work.
The thing is, though, you know, if you have to lay people off at the early stages, and they were, you know, trying to look for another job, there aren't any more jobs because everyone's losing their jobs.
Yeah,
so
but healthcare,
yeah,
a lot of people are volunteering, or you know, they're going into healthcare. You know, like people are looking for. I don't know, people are looking for delivery people for fruit and veg deliveries. They're looking for people who can, you know, call centres, NHS call centres, 111 and things like that. So people are being quite inventive with what they're doing, you know, if they need to get paid and things. But that being said, you know, the things came in a little bit too late, and some of the people that I know, they did lose their jobs, which is shocking.
Sad. It's really sad, and the rest of us are all trying to homeschool. So James Costello, it's probably a bit different.
With 5 children.
Yeah, 5 children at home to homeschool.
Paying for my fun.
Yeah. Am I right? And would I be right? Correct me. So your foliage that you're growing, can you kind of just leave it and then cut it when this is all over, or obviously you're losing out on trade at the moment, but is it going to have, like you said a bit earlier, that later on in the year you'd be cutting loads because everyone's going to be really busy? Are you able to just sit tight for a while and not worry, or have I got that all wrong?
You're nearly right. We have some crops, like I had a beautiful crop of flowering heather that I just had to write off that was coming in now. But in a general sense, most of our foliage grows, we sell it from kind of July through to March. So if it was to happen, it probably happened at a good time for me, in the sense that we got Mother's Day out of the way, and April and May are our 2 quietest months of the year. But no more than James over in Wales, our big issue at the moment now will be cash flow, because this is the time of year where we prune back all the eucalyptus crops, get pruned back to stump. We're fertilizing, you know, 30, 40, 50,000 euros worth of fertilizer bought this week. Labor to do all these things. So this time of year, you're spending a huge amount of money to prepare the crop for the next season. And it's money that has to be spent, because if we don't cut back the eucalyptus and if we don't fertilize it, we won't have a lovely crop next autumn. So you're in the situation where they're tough decisions, but you just have to go with it, because if you say we want to have a trade next autumn or next winter, then you just got to do it. But no more than James, it's cash flow is the biggest issue now from all growers' point of view, in that you've all the outgoings that you normally have. Most of our staff we've had to keep on for that reason, because the work in the field needs to get done. And if we don't do it, we won't have a crop next season. So you're in the position where you're spending the money, you have to spend it, but you've nothing coming in against it. So, you know, you're just talking to banks about overdraft facilities or whatever you can. And I suppose the big decision we're all having to make is, when do things get back to some level of normality? I think in our heads we're all writing off April and May, but could there be a trickle in June, something in August? In July, will August be 60-70% of where it was last year? So these are all the things that are flying around in people's heads as we're having to make daily decisions. So it's just crazy times, really.
Yeah, that's such hard decisions. And how many staff do you have working for you?
I suppose in the whole business we have about 45 to 50. In the wholesale division that I've set up now, there's probably 11 or 12 of us. And then it's very seasonal. So we do half our turnover from October to Christmas. So we'd probably go up to over 100 people that time of year. Yeah.
Okay. And so you have, do you still service like the supermarkets as well?
I mean, the thing with the supermarket business is it's dribbling away, but no more than James said, it's probably not significant enough to, you know, we're probably at the stage where we're not going to service it for the next few weeks, because it's just a dribble. I think the flower, you know, the flower industry altogether has been turned upside down. Talking to guys in Holland, there's a lot of the big rose growers are going out of business. The Colombians, the Ecuadorians, the Kenyans, they don't have the cash reserves they need. So I think it's going to be a very, very changed industry. Talking to friends of mine growing in Italy, a lot of my competition, but I have a lot of friends in Italy. It's going to be a very, very changed industry when it gets back to business, and I think the normal supply chains that we're used to will certainly be broken, you know.
Yeah, oh, that's kind of, so we were talking a few days ago, me and Vic, about whether we think, you know, prices of things after it are going to go through the roof, because we're all going to be after the same amount of the same stock for all these 300 weddings we've got every weekend. You know, you're going to need all that stock, but if the supply's not there, everyone's a bit
and then
worried.
you've got sale. One thing I was thinking of, you know how you've got, say, 2 growers who maybe do the cappuccino rows.
Yeah.
Well, there's every chance one of them might go bust. Like, I don't want to see that happen, but because of the wastage and things and what James was saying, one of them goes, the other one's prices are going to go up, kind of like your amnesia prices, I would assume. And then if we've all got more weddings compacted into the end of the year, we're all fighting for those. I think now our quotes that we've put in for the start of the year, that we've honoured to the end of the year for those that have postponed, I think the margins are going to be much smaller on those.
Agreed. And are you putting anything in with newer quotes? So are you still having meetings and things like that with potential clients?
As in new clients, like booking for next year? Yeah, I've done a couple consultations over the last week. I would say they've actually not secured their date yet. I think they want to know the prices, but I think people are holding off. I'm usually pretty good at capturing every consultation I do. We'll book, they'll just literally reply and ask for bank details. And that's not happened with these ones. So they're holding off, which is fine. But with regards to those postponing, if they're postponing to later this year, I've just honoured the prices I quoted, because, well, they're going through hell anyway. But actually, I don't know that there's going to be as much profit to be made from them.
So the people who you've had meetings with, who you have quoted for, have you put a percentage on, an additional percentage that you think?
I've done kind of what I had guesstimated for 2021, so that I put them up every year. But no, I've not really allowed for that to happen if there was a huge increase. But I would say I'm quite lucky. A lot of my couples they're quite relaxed, so they'll give me colour schemes and not really be, you know, I need the amnesia rose. So I think there'll be a bit of leeway with all of mine for me to pick, you know, if something's extortionate, I should be able to substitute it out for something similar. So yeah, hopefully I'll not get stung too much.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to do it. What's your secret to booking most of the people you speak to?
I don't know. I try and get them in, and then we have great chat and we have coffee, and I don't know. I think I tend to get on with everyone. I've never had a bridezilla, touch wood. Like I make friends with most of my couples, and I think I try and really make my website and my Instagram and stuff so like me and what I like, that when they come and they have the consultation stuff, they already know the style I do, so I know that we're going to click. I don't know, they just seem to reply and book, but no, the last two haven't. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think, like you say, I think everyone's very, very tentative.
Yeah.
I found people a lot more tentative. People I've spoken to, they're like, oh, well, we're not really sure if it's going ahead, and can we just hold off for another couple of weeks before we even have the meeting? And yeah, it's a funny old time for everyone, though, isn't it? And how have you been coping, James Compton? Sorry, I'm going to have to keep saying last names. How have you been coping, and what have you been doing, kind of moving forward with extra time that you have? Have you been kind of pushing your efforts elsewhere into the business, but in different ways?
Sorry, not quite sure I understand the question.
Okay, so in the time, obviously you shut your shop, and the funerals are finished and things like that. How are you filling your days with work? Are there areas that you're looking at? Like, are you working on your website, or are you working on new PDFs for couples, or are
you just working on baking skills?
Yeah, you're just baking cakes.
I'll hold my hands up and say, until probably yesterday, I have been remarkably counterproductive. I've been cooking, I've been gardening, I've been relaxing, really, which has actually been lovely. When you retail, you're open 6 days a week, and you're there every day, and to take one of the very small positives out of this situation, to be able to have a little bit of a rest and unwind a little bit has been lovely. But no, since between yesterday and today, I've had quite a lot to do in regards to rescheduling weddings for later this year and next year. Funnily enough, most of my reschedulings have been taking place for next year, which is a bit of a pain, really. I would have quite liked to have been pushed. I would have quite liked to have pushed them back for later this year, but it's not happened. So all that's happening to me now is that next year's prime slots are being taken up by reschedulings from this year. And that's money that I'm not going to see this year now, which has been a bit of a pain. So I've been doing quite a lot of admin these last couple of days, and trying to make sure that current bookings are prioritized and looked after ahead of new bookings. I've actually stopped speaking to new clients for the time being, so I can make sure that all my April, May, June and July reschedulings are accommodated.
That's a really good idea. I mean, I've unfortunately got to speak to a bride who she came to me with a date. Oh, it was quite some time ago, and the date was pretty clear. It was 2021. It was well, no one had inquired. We had to, because of work commitments on her side, we had to. We must have been in contact for maybe like 4-5 weeks. Booked her in, and she was like, will you hold the date for me? I'm like, look, I'll hold the date for you, and if anything comes in, I'll let you know. And it's scheduled for next week. Yeah, and I've had to take one of my 2020 couples and put them into that date, because that's the only time that they could do it. And I can't say to them, sorry, I can't do it because I've got someone in the pipeline for a meeting. So I'm going to have to unfortunately make that call tomorrow.
Nick, there's going to be so many people that don't make it through that are going to be looking for freelance work. Don't turn people away. Just,
Oh no, I've got 2 weddings. I've got 2 big weddings on that day, so I couldn't possibly take a third. No. Couldn't possibly take a third wedding on that day, not the size of the weddings that I've got going on that day. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. But the only thing you can do is give it to someone in your community who has got the same style as you, right? And they'll have great flowers anyway.
Maybe next year then is just going to hopefully make up for this year. Maybe we'll all have no money this year, and next year make up for it. I don't know. I mean, how does that work with foliage, James Costello? Do you still need to cut it all at the end of the year and hope that you're really busy with orders?
Yes, sorry, Jessica. I was just thinking there. It reminds me of about next year. Del Boy. Next year, Rodney, you and me will be millionaires. That's all that popped into my head. So
Jess is always telling me this. I'm definitely she's definitely Del Boy for sure.
Yeah. And the second thing then is after I finish talking, I'm going to my fridge because Victoria's got a can of Heineken, Jessica's got a G&T, and I'm here with a cup of fucking tea.
You should we thought, see, this is far on you, Jess. You should have told everyone to make sure they had a drink in hand.
Yeah, it's totally unfair. So
yeah.
Go.
Coffee.
You got a coffee, and what have you got, James?
I've got a beer.
Oh, good. See? Yeah.
James,
Coffee,
yeah. So no, getting back to your point, yeah, the foliage will stay growing. So we're generally lucky in that a lot, as I said, a lot of our business is seasonal. So the autumn and winter is a busy time for us. So once we get through the next few months, and hopefully there'll be a lot of weddings, a lot of events, and a lot of retail floristry going on in the winter, we'll just have to work harder at the tail end of the year.
Okay.
So yeah.
So it could kind of make up for it. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
What do you have about in the winter?
So I mean, we do a huge. I've got 20 different varieties of eucalyptus to start with. We do a huge amount of nobilis, pine, hemlock, viburnum, pittosporum, salal. Blah, 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 blah. It's, you know, we grow about 15 heather. We've about 40 different types of foliage. Yeah. So no, it's going great, and we you know, we work through traditional wholesalers, I suppose, and also then direct to florists as well. And I think it'll be really interesting to see what way the whole supply side of it works out, because I suppose a couple of years ago, you know, when you could order today and get your delivery tomorrow from Holland, I said, wow, that's, you know, is this the way the industry is going to go? And then with Brexit, it looked like it made more sense to have physical stock in the UK, and the cash and carries looked like the best way to go about it. So who knows what's going to happen now in light of coronavirus, what the supply of flowers to florists will look like going forward, you know, because I suppose there's no economy of scale for the you know, like James was talking about, small deliveries, and there's a lot of risk for cash and carries and holding stock. So it'll be very interesting to see how the supply chain for florists works out in the next months and years ahead, you know.
I couldn't agree more. And I think one thing, I don't know about you, Emma, but I think that we are going to see a surge of, you know, using more locally sourced product, whether it be from Ireland, whether it be, I don't know, like your local flower growers and things like that. What's your stance on that?
I have no idea. I would love to buy more British, but they can't do, or not around here anyway. We have quite weird weather. So there are 2 growers near me, and I tend to just, in sort of season, I'll just say to them, here's the colours for this wedding, and go and get like a random selection of all sorts. And I love that. It's like a pick and mix for a florist. But they've never managed the quantities that I need. So I have to buy from Holland. I can't ever see me being able to fully buy British. I get most foliage from James. There's only some, like, he doesn't do ruscus. So if I need ruscus, I'll order that in. And olive, I like olive as well. So asparagus,
olive and ruscus.
Any of that. And that said, actually, I'm sure he's started planting the ruscus. I'm sure there was a video up a wee while ago. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think, I don't know, just take it as it comes. I have a few suppliers, so we've got cash and carry nearby, and then there's, you know, the ones in Holland that send over direct, so those, and then a couple local growers. But I think that, I don't know that there's going to be much flowers to go around, so I think we might need to get quite creative.
Yeah, I could agree more. And James, how are you finding, do you buy direct from Holland, or do you use your local, like, cash and carry, or?
So yeah, I buy everything from Holland as well. As I said earlier, there's no local cash and carries here, so we're on the very top coast of North Wales. So the nearest cash and carry to us is either Liverpool or Manchester, which is over an hour's drive, which isn't very economical unless you're buying an awful lot. So no, I buy everything from Holland as well. We have one local eucalyptus grower, and I'm going to blow a bit of smoke up James's arse now here because it's just nowhere near as good as his product. So I buy from him. But no, yeah, everything. Same boat as Emma. Really, we have a lot of rainfall here in North Wales, and the weather isn't always terribly good. So there's no flower growers around here at all.
Okay. And how did the supply chain just before everything kind of was, started to get shut off? Were you finding that it was still easy to get flowers, or were there like limited stock, or?
It was the last few days. I think it all went a bit funny. So we'd pre-ordered Mother's Day stock, and that all came in without a hitch, very luckily. And then I think the last delivery that we had in, which was actually on the Tuesday where they announced non-essential businesses would be closing. When I was ordering that stock, which I think was on the previous Friday, so the Friday before Mother's Day, that was when I noticed that there was very, very, very diminished availability across the board with everything, really. So that made me a little bit nervous, and I kind of felt that the closure would be coming anyway. So luckily, I only had a small order in.
God, I wonder how it's going to be when it all starts back up again. Whether it's going to be like this gradual comeback, or whether just like boom, the market's full and everyone's bidding and fighting. Because if everyone's bidding on the clock, prices are just going to go up and up and up, aren't they? That's how it works. Yeah. God, it's going to be an expensive time for everybody, and they got no money because we've got no work. I think I was going to ask on my notepad here. I've got my last point was going to be what are your predictions for this when everything's all over? But have we covered that, or has anybody got any ideas about how it's going to go, or got any plans for what they're going to do? Holiday?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think the one thing. I think there's a great opportunity now for florists and growers to build our brand, because the one thing I've noticed is everyone is on their phone morning, noon and night. We're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So I think probably now's the time to double down on the social media, and podcasts like this are a great help because you have a captive audience. I think there'll be a lot more, people buying stuff online now, buying things they never bought online before. That seems to be a big thing. Couriers, I think, are going to give really good rates to florists to do deliveries and things like that. I think we're all clearing our heads too, which is good. It's good to clear the head. I certainly haven't had a few days to clear my head in 20 years. It's actually good to unwind a small bit and relax and see, creativity is still going to win. I think the best florists will still win. I think creativity will trump everything. So I think there'll be great challenges, but I think those people who are experienced and know what they're doing and are talented will probably the cream will rise to the top when the fight is tough.
Oh, that's some nice positive words. I couldn't have said it better myself, actually. No, that's and you're absolutely right. I think I've got nothing else to say on that. That's
that's a really good way to finish it all off. I love that.
Absolutely.
So, but on a personal note, is everybody all right? Everyone's got company. Nobody's on their own.
Nah, got kids, got a husband, and a house, so can't complain.
Yeah, I kind of wish I was quarantined for a few days on my own though. I've got, I could definitely keep myself occupied, do the craft projects that I never get around to doing, or
I'm quite lucky. I can jump here. I'm in the shop just now, but I'm not really breaking the rules because my house is next door, so I can kind of slyly sneak in without really seeing anyone or causing any issues. So I've got that little space.
My escape place is like my bedroom.
Yeah.
Just shut the door. There's nowhere else, with a 3-year-old tearing about, and he's going mental. Like he's Spider-Man 24/7 now. Because how can I say you can't put on your Spider-Man outfit? It's not like we've got to go anywhere.
Oh my God! By the end of it, we're all going to be so mad. We're all going to be Spider-Man running around the house.
No. If I could fit into the outfit, I probably would.
Well, thank you very much for your time, everybody. I think I might go downstairs and get another top up on my gin and tonic, and I think you all deserve to hit the booze as well.
Is there anything that anyone would love to add before we leave?
I just think enjoy the time. I can't really beat how James finished up there, but I would agree that it was good. Enjoy the time, because I feel like for the most of us, we're always on the go. Like, you're always looking forward to the next wedding, you're ordering in weeks in advance. So you're always looking ahead, and time just whizzes by, and before you know it, you're at the next peak and the next one. So actually stopping and taking stock and seeing that actually I've no income right now, not a penny, but I'm not stressed, I guess, because we're all in the same boat. But I'm cooking with the kids and, you know, doing bits of furniture and stuff that I've been meaning to do for a while. So enjoy it, and maybe with the sort of free headspace, some new ideas will come and you can push your business further afterwards. So it's not all a bad thing, I guess.
I'll leave you with a little joke, okay?
Okay.
So when the coronavirus is over, Paddy Irishman goes into a bar and he orders 7 shots of tequila and a pint of Guinness. So the barman lines up all the shots of tequila and he goes over to the counter to pull the pint of Guinness. And he comes back and the shots are all drank. And he said, Jesus, you drink them very fast, Paddy. How come you drank them so fast? And he said, well, you drink them fast if you have what I have. And he says, oh, really? What do you have? And he says, 50 pence.
Oh.
I like that.
Probably sums up where we're all going to be after the coronavirus.
Brilliant. Love that.
Thank you all very, very much. Go and enjoy your evenings, and we'll email you all and let you know how we're putting this out and when we're putting it out. We'll probably be quite soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's been really, really lovely to have different sides of the industry all in one place. And yeah,
it's nice to
have a great evening. James, you better go and get yourself a drink as well.
Sure.
I know, an Irishman who comes into a party without a drink. What's wrong with you?
He's the only one without a drink.
And on that note, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evenings, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.